everybody, and I hope that you're well.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I hope you're well as well. And today, like we've already shared, it's a Basant series, a Basant special, and one of the dishes that I remember eating on a Basant day, which was for me more of a kite flying day and kite flying evening. So it would be Saturday evening followed by Sunday morning, the whole day. I would not have time for anything else other than something which I can just eat while flying kites. So I think that's where my mother must have thought that Aloo Paratha is a way to go. And it's something which can be made very quickly. It's very, very tasty, and it can be eaten while you're multitasking. So I think let's get started now with the ingredients. So today's ingredients to make aloo parathas, we'll be using couple of potatoes, about 700 grams, 700 grams of potatoes. We've already boiled potatoes, but we just have one here just to show you. One onion which we'll be chopping, going in the process of cooking. We'll be making some ginger paste to go in the aloo parathas as well. Fresh coriander leaves, fresh mint leaves, just a handful of both. Few green chilies to your taste, 3 or 4 would be fine for me. About 1 cup of atta, which is a wheat flour. We'll be using 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, which will be crushed, and that crushed cumin seeds powder would be used, not in exactly in the powder form, but they'll be crushed. Coriander seeds, 1 teaspoon as well. These will be crushed in the hands to go in aloo parathas. I have about 10-12 whole black peppercorns, which will be crushed as well. Then I have Kashmiri Red Chilli Flakes, which is 1 teaspoon. About half to 3/4 teaspoon of salt, which is to your taste. Half teaspoon of red chili powder. Half teaspoon of Garam Masala. And 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder would be going in. I hope I have not missed any ingredients, which, like always, if I have, I'll share it during the process. So let's get started with the cooking now.
Okay, so let's begin starting this recipe. So I'm going to begin with the dough because this needs time to rest. So what I've got here in front of me is the atta, or the wheat flour, which we're going to use for this recipe. If you don't have this, you can also use plain flour, but this is very easy to get from any Asian supermarket, or probably some supermarkets here in the UK. What I'm going to do to begin is add 1 teaspoon of Desi Ghee, but you could also use any sort of oil you have to hand in your home. There we go. And I'm also going to add a little bit of salt, probably about 1/4 to half, probably about 1/4 teaspoon, just to give it a little flavour. Okay, and I've also got a jug of water just from the tap, which will help me bind this together. So I'm just going to start off by just working that ghee in, the oil, just so it doesn't form oily lumps. So just for a minute or so, just crush it with your hands, and it should start to feel a little bit like breadcrumbs. And then what you're looking to do with the water is add it bit by bit. It's always good to have a little bit of water or a little bit of flour on the side, just to help you bind it together. It's not always easy to, it's very easy to overdo one or the other. So I've got my little bit of extra flour here, just in case. So I've worked all of that ghee in now. So let's start with the water, just bit by bit really. I try to keep one hand clean while I'm doing this because sometimes you need to get to the tap and other things. So I'm using the wheat flour or atta just because it tastes a little bit nicer. I do have plenty of other flour available in my home, but I find for recipes like this, when you do use a lot of dough, it's nice to have something that has a little bit more of a nice taste and a little bit of a nicer texture. This tends to be a little bit more grainy than plain flour, but for me I find this tastes a lot nicer. So I would recommend you try this out. This shouldn't take too long. This bit's probably the hardest bit of making the bread, I suppose, just trying to bind it all together nicely. Just be patient with it, really. Okay, so a little time has passed and I've done some more preparation and I've also finished my dough. So let me show you what I've been up to. Let's start with the dough, just because we left off from there. So this is what my dough looks like. It all came together really nicely. All the bowl was nice and clean, and I've also kneaded it as well for maybe 5 minutes or so. And now what I've done is taken a clean damp tea towel and I've just lined the bottom of the bowl, and I'm also going to just cover it now. This will just keep it nice and moist just while it's resting. So this is going to be there in the bowl now for a good 30 minutes or so. I would say 30 minutes minimum, really. So let's start on with the other bits I've been up to. So I have also cut my onion. Here you can see that they are very small pieces. This is really important when cutting the inside of the paratha, that you don't make big pieces because it can break the dough. So small pieces of onion, small pieces of mint, some coriander, and again some finely cut green chilies, fresh green chilies. So I've done them as small as possible just to kind of help keep all that bread together when we go to make them. And I've also just peeled my potatoes, and I'm now just going to gently mush those. You still want to have little pieces of potato. It's not like a smooth potato, just because it's a little bit nicer to eat that way. So just gently does it, really. And also, while I am getting on with this, I'll also explain, I've also actually done my ginger paste. So all I've done is taken that inch piece of ginger and grinded it together.
Okay, let's start preparing the batter to go in the dough now. I've already put this pan on heating. I'll add a tiny bit of oil, vegetable sunflower oil, you can use any. Just a very tiny bit, you don't need much of this. I'll let it get hot. The onions will go in first, followed by ginger paste, then the spices and potatoes. So potatoes, Faye has mashed them into, leaving a slight bite to them. So that's the whole idea. You don't want them absolutely flat, leave a bite to it. And we'll try to maintain this bite even when the potatoes are cooking. I'll show you how to move your spoon just to maintain that bite. I think it's fine. So the onions going in first. We'll add all the spices in here except the green spices, which is mint leaves, coriander leaves and crushed green chilies, which will be added once everything is cooked here, just to keep everything very fresh.
So you're waiting for these to go a nice golden colour, a bit soft and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, bit soft, nice golden colour. Don't need to fry more than that. Just want them soft and before the spices and everything get going.
So who did you play Basant with?
For me, it was I was just obsessed with kites, and it was me as a child, my brother, my younger brother, and there were lots of Basant where we would spend the evening part of Basant, which is Saturday evening, on our rooftop. Our house was pretty much in the center of Lahore, so that's where lots of action was. The next day, there are loads of memories where we spent it on our rooftop, but there were few Basants where all of our family, we would go to my Pupo's house, which is my aunt's house, and we would spend it there with my cousin. But it would just be kites for us on the Basant day. We were not worried about eating or anything, it was just about kites. I just loved kite flying, and I think one of the things which marked my childhood was kite flying. The second thing I think was cricket, both playing and watching cricket. And we did not have much proper grounds with cricket pitches around where I used to live. There were few, about 10-15 minutes walk, but that would not stop us from playing cricket. What we would do is we would take a tennis ball, put a tape on it so it would become a tape ball, and we would play on a street with that ball, and we would play literally for hours and hours. And that ball would become slightly bouncier than a cricket ball, but it was just very nice.
Do you play Basant on your rooftop? Is that, where would you play
Well,
Basant?
the idea is to fly kites in the air.
So you
That
need
you can
some
only
height.
do either from rooftop or from a street.
Yeah, okay, so,
Yeah.
people
So-
do it in the street as well? Or not so
Yeah,
much?
lots of people, they would be doing it on street, in the parks. There would be certain parks where there would be lots of people flying kites. And other memories which I have, lots of music, lots of dances, and lots of food. So it was loud, it was lots of colors. People would wear Basant colors, which are spring colors, which would be mostly earthy colors, dominated by yellow tones, I would say. And it's an event which would be celebrated by the whole family, women, men, children, girls, boys. Everyone would be on the rooftops, and I think some people would be stuck making food, but yeah.
Your mum?
Yeah. She would, I think, she would enjoy once she had made the food for everyone. She would come on the rooftop, have it with us, and it's very nice. So Aloo Paratha was one of the reasons that I think I would find it hard to sit down and have a sit-down meal. So that was pretty much a mobile meal that I can enjoy while flying kites. On my rooftop, we had different levels. So there was a rooftop, then there were 2 higher levels, and I would always climb up to those levels. There were no stairs you can actually climb up. So I would just climb up to those levels, no health and safety, and that's how we would be flying kites.
Nice.
So how is it?
Yeah, they're getting there.
Like the onions have become nice and soft, a little golden color as well. So this is the time for me to add ginger paste. So it's only ginger paste this time, no garlic. It's about 1.5 teaspoons. and give it a quick fry. Half teaspoon of red chili powder, 1 teaspoon of crushed Kashmiri Red Chilli Flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder, so cumin seeds, what I'll do is I'll slightly crush them before I add these in. So just half crush them. Okay, and Garam Masala, which is half teaspoon. Quick fry. I think I'll just add a very tiny splash of water because it's going a little dry. So I'm just crushing whole black peppercorns, about half teaspoon, that's all you need. Black peppercorns crushed gone in. Coriander seeds, the way to crush them is in your hands, just like this. It's 1 teaspoon of coriander seeds crushed and going in like this. So that's all the spices gone in except salt, which I'll add once I've added potatoes to it. So okay, all the potatoes are going in now, just gently. Okay, so I've done little mixing. I'll be adding salt and do little more mixing, then it'll be done, and we'll add green spices to it. If you see, I'm moving the spoon more vertically like this so that I don't break it to even further. Okay, so it's all mixed in nicely. I've switched off the heat. It's no more on heat. So finely chopped mint leaves, finely chopped fresh green chilies. You can use as many as you would like. We have used a fair bit because we enjoy a crunch and heat coming from a green chili, and we love the freshness from mint leaves and coriander leaves. So finely chopped coriander leaves going in as well now. A gentle mix once again, just to spread it evenly throughout the batter.
Okay, so a little time has passed and my dough is now ready to make into those aloo parathas. So let's begin showing you how to do that. So it's been resting now for well, over an hour really now. So I'm just going to take piece in my hand. That technique of having the wet tea towel in the bowl just keeps the dough really nice and soft. So I totally recommend doing that if you don't do it already. Just make sure that the dough doesn't dry out too much. Okay, you're going to need 2 pieces of dough for this, but we'll start off with the first one, which is going to be my bottom layer, and then we're going to sort of do a sandwich effect and put the aloo or the potato inside. So I've taken sort of a palm size piece, and I'm just going to help mould that into a rough circle to start with. And I've also got a little pot of atta or flour that I've used just to help me help the dough not stick to the board. So you just want to shape it a little bit, helps to sort of get that shape going. Okay. Right. Start, so just coat each side with the flour. I find that helps, and probably a little bit on your rolling pin as well. And then we start. So as much of a circle as possible. It helps to keep rotating the dough, I find. Just try and keep that circular shape. The sun has begun to start shining, which is really nice. It's also been snowing a little bit. Okay, so I've rolled out the breads into sort of a similar thickness as you would do for a roti. I've just prepared the second one. So one will be the bottom of the paratha and one the top. And I think they are nearly about the same size. So I think that one might be good at the bottom. Okay, so I think, yeah, we are ready to start filling the paratha. So I've got my batter that we made earlier here, and I'm just going to add a little layer in the middle. You also want to leave a little bit of an edge so that you're able to close the paratha. A nice thin layer is good, don't overfill it, otherwise the dough might split. I've also got a frying pan on the heat ready to get warm, so that I can fry this nice and fresh. Okay, I think I've filled enough now. You can see that I've left a good amount around the edge so that I'm able to stick the paratha together. And I've also got a little jug of water here, which I'm just going to take a tiny little splash in my fingers, and I'm just going to coat the edge just to help that dough stick together. Okay, let's put the lid on. So now it's about pressing down those sides even, just to make sure it's all closed in.
Okay, the paratha is ready to go on the pan. If you have tawa, use that, but alternatively a pan would do the same job as well. So there is no oil or anything at the moment. What I'll do is I'll just have little desi ghee, or you can use vegetable sunflower oil as well, just drops going around the edges. So I'll show you how that's done. The pan is hot. The heat setting, however, is medium to high, not very high. So I believe that should make it nicely cooked all the way through. So just tiny bit of desi ghee or oil, just little drops going like this around the edges. Those edges which we have pasted together will start frying very nicely with this technique. People do make aloo parathas with different techniques. This technique personally we find is the best, especially when you want to enjoy a decent amount of filling inside your paratha. The other technique, which is to create sort of a hole in the dough, have your batter in there and then fold the edges, would I personally find that you cannot have much batter in there, and the dough tends to be much thicker as compared to this technique. So personally I would recommend you to use this technique, which is the traditional technique in Punjab as well. Okay, let's see how it's doing. Let's just flip it. Oh, that's very nice looking paratha. So we'll do the same again around the edges. And I'll have little desi ghee, the dry areas which is in the center of this paratha, just to make sure it gets nice and crispy all the way. You can use as less as you would personally like to use, whether it's vegetable oil or desi ghee. It's more of a preference than a requirement. So that's the first paratha done. So this has taken me back to the Basant days of my childhood, and it's such nice, crispy, full of flavors and batter, this paratha. You can only make it with this technique, and we hope you really enjoyed this video. Do try making these parathas following this recipe. It's an authentic recipe, which is the traditional Punjabi recipe, still followed in all the villages across Punjab. And that's how my mother would used to make it as well. She still makes it the same way. We have lots coming up on our social media, so do check the new photographs on Instagram. We have a new theme coming up as well on Instagram, which is for Basant festival. So do check that out, our Facebook page. And anything else?
I guess that we'll see you tomorrow in our next video, which is also to represent Basant, to continue those festivities a little bit longer. So we hope that we see you again then, but I guess bye for now.